Everyone knows the frontman is the man in charge of the Squid Game, controlling the game from the shadows. But as the other teams fought for their survival, he manipulated the games in his own favor, showing no mercy and no regard for fairness. In this video, we'll be breaking down every time the frontman cheated to maintain his survival, but before we get into how he cheated the games, we have to figure out why he entered the games in the first place. In Season 2 of Squid Game, Gi-hoon's goal is to stop the games from happening altogether. This eventually leads to him confronting the frontman, where he then asks to play the games one more time.
Let me play the game again. I want you to send me in there again. Your rich bosses will love it, won't they? The returning winner who came back to play. Make it all even more entertaining.
But before Gi-hoon decided to re-enter the games, he had a fake tooth with a GPS tracker installed into his mouth. This meant that if he entered the game again, they could easily track him onto the island. Since Gi-hoon decided to re-enter the games, he had to put his full trust in his team to track down the island, even if it wasn't previously discussed between them. However, this would soon backfire on Gi-hoon, as when he checked to make sure that the tracker was still in his tooth before red light green light started, it turned out not to be in the tooth anymore. Now, you might be wondering, how does any of this tie into the frontman wanting to enter the games? Well, when the first game red light green light starts, Gi-hoon tries alerting everyone on how to survive in hopes of making sure everyone could make it to the end.
Everybody, you need to pay attention! Hey, listen up! I'm gonna tell you something and you gotta listen close! This isn't just a game, it's more than that. If you move after red light, you're gonna be
Obviously, the higher-ups of the Squid Game wouldn't want everyone to survive, which is what induces the frontman to step in and disrupt Gi-hoon's plan. Red Light Green Light is the first game in Squid Game and is usually the most deadly, eliminating a large majority of the contestants every year. The rules seem simple. Players must move forward when the doll says green light and freeze when it says red light. However, in Squid Game, any movement after red light results in instant death by gunshot. This brutal twist makes it a high-stakes challenge right from the start. Throughout the game, Gi-hoon warned everyone about how deadly the game was. He tried to tell them how important it was to stay still when the doll said red light to avoid getting shot. Because of this, significantly fewer people got eliminated compared to the first season, which is partly due to Gi-hoon trying to calm everyone down. While Gi-hoon tried to save as many people as possible, the frontman cheated in this game by simply just not participating, which ensured his safety as he watched everyone else compete in the games from a safe distance. After the first game, the frontman would enter into the games as player 1 during the voting process, with him voting to stay, breaking the tie. This ensured that Gi-hoon would be stuck in the games for at least one more round. He would then form a team with Gi-hoon shortly after voting, most likely to learn more about his plan and gain more control over the game's flow. This alliance wasn't about trust, but more about manipulation and attempting to stop any rebellion attempts made by Gi-hoon. By staying close to Gi-hoon, the frontman could learn how Gi-hoon was attempting to outwit the game and potentially find a way to turn it to his own advantage. He was careful about who he allied with, knowing that he needed to ensure his own survival at all costs. His actions weren't about kindness or cooperation, they were about stopping Gi-hoon from stopping the games entirely. Going on to the second game, the six-legged pentathlon, this is the first game the frontman actually competes in. The six-legged pentathlon is a very skill-based game in Squid Game, leaving you to wonder how exactly one would cheat in this game. Players in the six-legged pentathlon are split up into teams of 5 to participate in 5 separate mini-games, with each player picking one game to play each, all under a 5-minute timer.
At each 10-meter interval on the track, one member of the team will play a mini-game. Game 1, Dakji. Game 2, Flying Stone. Game 3, Gongi. Game 4, Spinning Top. Game 5, Jeki.
As the frontman was already part of Gi-hoon's established team, he stuck with him for this game as well, offering to play whatever game Gi-hoon wasn't comfortable with. This led him to be the one to play Spinning Top. Once it was their turn to participate in the race, there was only one other team left, meaning that there was no one in the crowd watching them play, which ties into how the frontman cheated this game. Once it was the frontman's turn, he purposefully failed the game multiple times to slow down the team. He eventually succeeded in the game he was playing, and they went on to complete the game with only 2 seconds left. The way the frontman cheated this game was by making sure that their team went last. This gave him the advantage of ensuring that even if the other team won, he would still have time to survive. If the frontman's team were to fail, he could easily avoid elimination by simply staying out of the way while the guards killed the rest of his team. If the other team would have won and their team would have lost, the guards could have simply waited until they were out of the arena before eliminating the frontman's team. The frontman's careful manipulation of the game's order ensured that he would remain safe and never in a vulnerable position, no matter what happened in the final moments. Finally, going on to the third and final game, Mingle. Mingle is a team-based game that revolves around forming groups of a specific number and entering a room with that number.
All players will step onto the platform in the center of the arena. Once the game begins, the platform will spin. Shortly after, a number will be called out. You must then form a group that matches this number, enter one of the surrounding rooms, and close the door within 30 seconds or be eliminated.
It seems as if the frontman survives every round in this game, while going into rooms with the rest of his team. With how it's sounding right now, you might wonder how the frontman would even cheat in this game if he was actively forming groups and surviving without blatantly cheating. But during round 2, when the number announced is 4, the frontman isolates himself from his team, saying that he'll find a team to join and that the rest of them should stay together. While we see the frontman yelling out, trying to find 3 people to team up with, we never actually see him get into a room with 3 other people, leading many to speculate that he just went to an empty room and just came out afterwards with the guards knowing not to eliminate him. By going into an empty room, the frontman essentially removed himself from the game's danger zone, as no one would be in the room to challenge his survival. The guards likely had a prearranged agreement with the frontman, knowing not to touch him no matter what. This subtle manipulation of the rules allowed the frontman to breeze through the rounds without directly breaking the rules of the game, but rather bending them in his favor when he needed it most. Apart from the second round, he played the rest of the game normally, forming groups with the rest of his team and ultimately surviving. He didn't need to break the rules to win, he simply made sure that the system played out in a way that ensured he came out on top. His control over the game wasn't just about manipulating others, it was about manipulating the very structure of the game itself. After Mingle, Gi-hoon devised a plan to overthrow the guards after the Lights Out segment, which the frontman and the rest of their team agreed to.
We don't make any moves until the fighting's over. We wait and we keep still. We can't afford to get pulled into the fight, do you hear me? Once the lights come back on, the guards will rush into the room and start getting the situation under control. First, they'll break up whoever's still fighting.
Drop the weapon. Hands up.
They'll be so busy they won't pay any attention to the... Right after they finish securing the room, we wait until it's time to strike.
As they march into the stateroom after taking the weapons from the guards, they have an intense shootout with the guards before Gi-hoon and Jung-bae split up to find the control room and take down the game from above. Soon after, the frontman orders that someone goes back and gets the spare magazines from the dead guards in the dormitory, while he, Player 47, and Player 15 go to reinforce Gi-hoon and Jung-bae. Their plan seems flawless, as it seemed as if they could take down all of the guards and successfully take down the games, but little did they know, things would all soon turn for the worst. The frontman's group arrives behind the guards, and right before they move in and kill the guards, the frontman shoots both of them and fakes his own death by playing the sound of Player 15 actively dying over the radio before shooting him in the head and changing radio signals. He then tells the guards to start wrapping things up. Hearing this and knowing that they were out of ammo, Gi-hoon and Jung-bae surrender. The frontman then came down the stairs just Jung-bae right in front of Gi-hoon before going back to his position. His ability to manipulate the situation in the heat of the moment ensured that he was always one step ahead, keeping everyone else in check while maintaining the